Off top, barn owls are monogamous animals, except for about 25% of them. They get separated. Play the music.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.
What up, Charlie? Welcome to the Domonique Foxworth Show presented by Allstate. Throw your hands up. We'll be joined by Bill Barnwell shortly to go over all of the big games of this weekend. But before Bill joins us, let's talk about what happened on Sunday night with the Bengals and the Bills.
The Bengals are back.
I thought we did it last week. When they beat the 49ers last week, they were back.
They're
right?
so back.
So you're not surprised by the outcome of this game. I think we all recognize that the Bengals with a healthy Joe Burrow were ascendant, and the Bills, despite the fact that Josh Allen has been balling, the Bills are weak in a lot of different places due to injury, and also just they never developed a number 2 receiver. They never really developed a running game, and those things came to bite them tonight. The injuries on defense, and even the players who they got back. So like Von Miller had an opportunity to stop Joe Mixon at the end of the game to force that 4th down so they get the ball back. He got mixed up by Mixon. That was terrible. I'm sorry. I apologize for that. But anyway, the Bengals
did not respect that joke.
The Bengals are back. I think later in the show we talk about, later in the show we talk about the best teams in football and the best teams in the AFC. And we kind of circle around one specific team, and it's not the Bengals. And I think we got to accept that despite the fact they got off to a rough start, they always get off to a rough start. The Bengals should be in that conversation as real, legitimate best team in football.
I think we could look up at the end of the season and just be like, all right, get ready for another AFC Championship game that Joe Burrow is going to find himself in.
Yeah, Joe Burrow is impressive. What are the big takeaways from this game, I guess, other than the Bengals being back, the Bills? We've been talking about the Bills kind of circling the drain for a while now. They're not completely out of it, but since they are kind of in the Super Bowl or bust category, it feels like that seems incredibly unlikely.
So for the Bengals, this was the T. Higgins breakout game.
Yeah. He's
really struggled all season, 8 receptions, 110 yards. He had 218 yards coming into this week through the first 7 games of the season. And for the Bills, it's the same. It's past the point of no return on defense, and it's the fact that Josh Allen has to manufacture their entire running game, and it's a problem.
And I mean, and there's nobody opposite. Yeah, I feel like it's a broken record. There's nobody opposite Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs makes play after play. And why did they do us like that in NBC replay when we obviously wanted to see when he got the 2-point conversion and Stephon Diggs took out the security guard, they wouldn't show us the replay. I know I wasn't the only person that was like, man, let us see the replay of the security guard getting rolled up on. But anyway, yeah, I don't think there's a whole bunch out of this game. What happened is what we expected to happen. We'd have been surprised if they lost, if the Bengals lost, surprised if Josh Allen was able to carry this team. But I guess that is the one big takeaway is another nail in the Bills' window coffin. I don't know, mixing analogies right here. It does feel like they're closer to the end of this run than the beginning. But as long as they have Josh Allen, it'll be easier to rebuild around him.
It's interesting. Before the Bills had their injuries, we thought they were going to be right at the top of the AFC, and we thought the Bengals might be the dangerous floater team in the wild card round. The opposite. The Buffalo, officially, marking it now. Nobody wants to play them in the first round of the playoff team because you just don't want to deal with that gigantic water buffalo of a quarterback running downhill at you.
Yeah, and launching passes all over the field. Yeah, there's a chance that they're like the 6th seed and knock off a 2 seed, right? That's how it is. Or 7 seed versus the 2 seed.
Yeah, 6
because there's 1 bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no one's gonna want to play them, but no one's gonna want to play the Bengals either because they're gonna be on their way to potentially AFC Championship game. Yeah, good time. Sunday night game was fun. Let's not hold off on the rest of the fun that we had. Let's get to Billy the Barnwell and the rest of the great games of this weekend. All right, and now for the rest of the fun games, we bring in everybody's favorite football man, Bill Barr. Oh, a little shimmy. He gave us a shimmy.
Let's go.
I like it. All right, Charlie, what do you want to do?
Let's give the people what they want. Let's start. We had several marquee games today, but
yeah.
one of them had America's team, the Cowboys. So let's start with Cowboys-Eagles. And the game was super exciting. Down the stretch, both teams, after playing really well for a lot of the game, had sort of a choke-off, trying to lose the game back and forth with penalties, weird plays, foibles down the stretch. But a lot of stories here. Jalen Hurts banged up his knee. Dak played really, really, really well, but the Cowboys came up a yard short 3 times from the end zone, which sort of defined the end of that game. So for you guys, what was the story coming out of the Eagles' win over the Cowboys?
It's not fun, and it's hard for me as a 180-pound person to say this, that it comes down to the line play. It felt like the difference in this game was the offensive line of the Cowboys couldn't hold up against the defensive line of the Eagles. And the other side, where the Eagles offensive line was able to hold up. Like, the Cowboys got a couple sacks here and there, but they were not debilitating. The Eagles offensive line held up. And at no point did the Cowboys defense make that like pivotal turnover. They created a sack fumble, but couldn't recover it. There was another fumble that they couldn't recover. It seemed like what it came down to was the winning on the line play from either side. The big boys get all the credit as usual.
That's the lesson, right? Recover the fumbles. If you can do that, you're going to win games. Just be smart. Don't bother with the offensive or defensive lines. Just spend all day drilling, getting on the ground and recovering those fumbles, because that would have turned this game if the Cowboys had recovered that DeAndre Swift fumble in the fourth quarter where the Eagles ran into each other. Oof. I mean, this felt like a game where, like, this was the Cowboys' chance, right? Like, if there was ever going to be a game where the Cowboys beat a healthy version of the Eagles team, not a team without Jalen Hurts, which they beat last year, but if they could beat a healthy version of this Jalen Hurts team, this was the game. Dak was playing out of his mind for 3.5 quarters. They were moving the ball up and down the field. They had the perfect game plan. They were attacking the weak spots in this Eagles pass defense at linebacker, in the slot, at safety. They had all these opportunities to hit big plays. They were marching up and down the field. And then, as Charlie said, they got within the 5-yard line and chaos.
It started moving
ensued.
backwards.
It started moving backwards. They were taking sacks. They were coming up a yard short. Dak, as good as Dak was in this game, Dak inexplicably stepped out of bounds, scrambling for that. I guess explicable. He was being chased down by another defense.
I was gonna say there's some splicking there. I can splick that easily. When Graham is running at your sideline, sometimes you're not paying attention to exactly where the white line is.
Okay, but that is Dak's job, and Dak did play a really good game. But I think he would like that step back. I think he would feel like he could get to the pylon without stepping out of bounds in that scenario. But like Domonique said, it felt like when there was a key moment when someone had to make a play, it was that Eagles defensive line. It was Terrence Steele who struggled throughout this game, getting beat up by various Eagles pass rushers, created that sack late in the game that pushed the Cowboys back. But this was don't leave any doubts here. The Eagles did not close the door in this game. No. The team that should have the best 4-minute offense in football, that should have the pass rush to shut down games, they left the door wide open for the Cowboys, and they stepped in. They put 1 foot in, they put like 1.5 feet in, and then they decided to walk back out.
I would like to read what happened once the Cowboys got to 1st and goal from the 6-yard line with 27 seconds left.
Can you please read it in dramatic fashion though, because this is like a
don't just you gotta put some sauce on it. Don't just give it to us with the boring way.
False start. Started everything.
Yes.
Then Dak dropped back and took a sack.
Oh.
Ooh, right.
Then there was an incompletion where he randomly threw it to a Tolbert, not a CeeDee Lamb. Then, they took a delay of game. That's weird when, there's the game on the line. And then they threw a ball short of the goal line that CeeDee Lamb did not have anyone to pitch to and ended up just a yard short, which is...
I gotta admit, you weren't prepared for the dramatic reading, and the reading was not that dramatic. It was building to a crescendo, and then you just gave up on it.
I lost on delay game.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of Homerian epics where he just goes, that got weird halfway through.
I'm going to tell you something, though. Accountability plays in the locker room. Hand up. I can do better on that.
All right. Next time, we'll give you another opportunity. Maybe not today, but at some point, we'll give you another opportunity with some preparation. The Terrence Steele, you said his name, and it made me cringe. He's the right tackle for the Cowboys for this game, and he struggled, particularly at the end of the game, giving up pressure to Dak. It sucks because Dak was playing so well, and this felt like he's been playing really well through the course of the last several games. And the big thing about Mike McCarthy taking over the offense, it's been a hoax. It's been a fraud. They started this season, they were like, hey, we're going to get rid of Kellen Moore because he throws too much. And he asked Dak to do too much. We're going to run the ball. We're going to do short, manageable stuff and protect Dak and take the pressure off him. They threw all that out the window. And it's just like, get on his back. He doesn't have a running game. He's not consistently well protected. And at least he has CeeDee Lamb and Brandon Cooks, which are guys that I think he can rely on.
I was actually going to say that, though. Isn't this made the offense better and more exciting over the last 3 weeks that they're like, throw away the running game and let Dak cook?
I guess. So then why run off? Why run off Kellen Moore? Because this is what he was doing last year.
That'd be a fall guy. Classic fall guy situation.
Whatever.
That's what is upsetting about this is that it sort of feels like everybody got what they wanted, not with the Kellen Moore thing, but with getting rid of Ezekiel Elliott. Everybody was like, yeah, I got to get more Tony Pollard in here. Look how efficient he is. Look at his numbers. He's fast. And now Tony Pollard's the lead back, and it ain't working. Like, they do not have a running game. It's been all on Dak's shoulders week after week after week. And we saw in this game, it wasn't like Dak was getting back in the pocket, getting to the back of his drop and hitting open guys. Like, he had to create out of the structure of this offense. So much of this game was Dak scrambling and throwing on the run for big gains. And I think it's credit to Dak, but doesn't exactly make me feel all that great about this offense moving forward.
Bigger concern, lack of a running game, or the fact that they don't really have a number 2 receiver. Brandon Cooks had 1 reception for 7 yards in this game. CeeDee Lamb has broken out significantly over the last few weeks.
Well, Brandon Cook played well last week. I think, honestly, the lack of running game. And Dak likes to use the tight end so often that having a two-headed monster at receiver is not necessary. I think Brandon Cook's speed and ability to make big plays is threatening enough to help out that offense. What they really need is another dimension, something else, which is a running game.
Dak was so comfortable when they had Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, and Brandon Cooks is 158 yards this season, and we're halfway through.
Can we look back on trading Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick before they were going to cut him as not the best use of Dallas Cowboys resources? Is that officially one we can stamp as bad opinion from the Cowboys now?
Definitely something we could stamp. I think we didn't give enough attention, at least in my view, to the Luke Schoonmaker play. Yeah, that was that changes. So the Dak step out is 2 points. That makes it so they only need a field goal. That really changes things. The Schoonmaker catch is where the tight end lands just in front, and they call it touchdown. Then they review it and say just outside, and then we have to do a tush push out of the end zone, and that is a missed opportunity. Those little, and I think this speaks to like the randomness of football that I think Bill likes to point out when we're talking about 1-score games is. They call it a sack fumble early in the game. They fall on that changes things. DeAndre Swift fumbles when he runs into AJ Brown. If they fall on that changes things. If you get one more, like a literal inch for Schoonmaker, that changes things. If Dak's foot is one more inch inside of the out of bounds line, that changes things. And that's like why you think leaving this game, I feel like the Cowboys are good enough to beat the Eagles. I didn't feel that way about the 49ers games, but they have not beaten the Eagles with Jalen Hurts, and there's no reason to believe – I can't say no reason to believe. I guess there's no reason to believe that they're going to get those breaks or clean up the things that they need to clean up in order to not need those breaks. I guess that's what I want to see. When I want to fully believe in a team, I want to see a game where they don't need those breaks to win, and the Cowboys kind of always do.
And they got the breaks today. They got a ton of Eagles.
Some of the breaks. They got some of the breaks for sure. They got some questionable calls. The Eagles. Oh, sorry. They also had the play where they scored a touchdown, but it was called back because the 6th offensive lineman supposedly did not report, which seems shocking to me. That's like, kind of what you have to do. Is like, that's your first job as the 6th offensive lineman is to go over and tell somebody, hey, I'm in the game. But lost them a touchdown. Obviously not ideal. I want to flip it to the Eagles side of things. Like, the record is the record. We talk about them every week. We're not super duper impressed by the Eagles. I mean, 2 things here. Number one, do you have any concerns about them after this game and their ability to close out against great teams, or at least playoff caliber teams like the Cowboys? And number two, can you guys imagine what it would be like if you were DeAndre Swift, the game is on the line, all you want to do is not fumble, you get the handoff, and then AJ freaking Brown just smacks you in the side of the head.
A receiver that's the size of an edge rusher.
You're looking for number 11, and the other number 11 comes and robs you.
Yeah, that stinks. So I think it's hard to not carry some like respect for this Eagles team after what they did last year. But if we're basing it only off of what we've seen this year, this team does seem to have some issues with closing out the games. However, they also have the D-line that I think that's what it comes down to me. I think I call a lot of people call the pass rushers closers because that's who ends the games. I feel like Von Miller was kind of the first one of this era that we were like, oh, you bring Von Miller in at the end of the game, he's going to get a sack. We saw Aaron Donald do it in the Super Bowl. We see it every weekend. I feel like Reddick's done it a couple of times this year. And they did it again. Like, even though they were having a choke off, it felt like at the end of that game, those 2 sacks, that D-line did it. So they're going to find ways to close games with that D-line, even with both of their starting corners injured through the course, which is a ridiculous series of events. They get their starting corners hurt on the game-winning drive in pass interference. And then it doesn't matter.
And roughing the passer.
What's that?
And roughing the passer.
Oh, yeah, and roughing the passer. That's right. Which, I mean...
Well, you know what though? Not a right call, because Hassan Reddick did try to help Dak up after the roughing the passer, which that cancels out. You're okay if you help him up after the play.
It's funny how quickly we get trained on these things, because that is an outrageous roughing the passer call. Anytime before the last 2 or 3 years. And now we all saw it. And I was like, yes, obviously rushing the passer. It's like he kind of bumped into him. It was not a malicious hit at all. It's outrageous, but player safety, hurrah.
So what you're telling me, given that the Eagles lost both their starting cornerbacks on that final drive, is that just have a great pass rush, cornerbacks don't matter. Is what it boils down to.
You're damn right. I hate to admit it. I'm happy I got paid before everyone figured that out. What do you think, though? You asked me the question. I'd like to hear what you think about the Eagles' ability to close out big games.
I believe they are still very good in short yardage, but this offense has hiccups. I mean, not exactly the craziest opinion, but this offense has hiccups at times. They're inconsistent. They can be sloppy. The offensive line is not as good as it was last year, partly because of injuries. The defense secondary is not great. Like, the linebackers are not great in coverage. The guys who are not the outside cornerbacks are not great in coverage. Teams can exploit them. That's going to hurt. But I think really the issue is just, can this defensive line make a play? They always seem to find a way to make a play. Now, granted, it took the Cowboys taking a penalty and being sloppy late in the game and all those mistakes we talked about, but it just feels like the defense line eventually comes up with some sort of solution. And that goes back to the Patriots Super Bowl, where Brandon Graham finally got a sack of Tom Brady after Tom Brady marched up and down the field throughout that game. So it feels like if you keep things close, the defensive line and the short yardage stuff is going to win the Eagles games, and I kind of believe it's still going to.
So one of the things I find interesting about this is Jalen Hurts, 10-0 against winning teams, or against teams with a winning record since 2022, 25-2 in his last 27 starts. The Eagles are 8-1, and all we're talking about is how unimpressive they are. And I agree with you guys, but I would ask you this on the back end of it. We don't believe in the Cowboys more than them. We don't believe in the 49ers more than them. Do we believe in the Lions going on the road and beating them in a playoff game? The Seahawks just got absolutely pants today. So for not believing in them and closing out games, part of it's the competition.
Such a straw man argument.
How so?
Because you said all we're saying is negativity after we said so many positive things about them. The one thing that we said that was negative was like, yeah, they are not as clean offensively at the end of the game. We believe that they are the best team. Well, I can't speak for Bill. I believe that they're the best team in the NFC. And I do believe that they could be better. They found different ways.
Well, part of this is the standard. They were so impressive last year by
they
being
aren't as good as they were last year.
Slightly less impressive as they were last year. We've focused on that more than the fact that they're probably better than everyone else in the NFC.
They lost.
We as a collective, not you guys as football.
I mean, they lost.
savants.
They lost a lot of coaches, and I think that is probably the best thing we can do to. No, I'm serious. I think that matters. I don't think it's a coincidence that the defense in Baltimore is better because they brought in some new coaches, and the defense in Philly is worse because they kind of had a defensive overhaul and coaching staff. Like, I think that stuff matters in the age of in football more than just about any other sport. I think the coaching matters. I don't like giving coaches credit, but I guess I have to. I think that's what we do when we can't exactly pinpoint the one thing that's the problem. It's just like, hey, you know what? Coaches sure do stink.
Or the opposite. You can't figure out how the Steelers are winning games, just like, like Tomlin.
Tomlin magic.
Tomlin magic. I think, Charlie, you're right. But I do think that the Eagles, two things can be true, right? The Eagles can be worse than they were last year. And I think Eagles fans would tell you they're less confident about this team. They feel, they play less dominant than they did a year ago. But all the other things you said were true. The Niners are worse than they were during the second half of last season. The Cowboys, some weeks they look better, some weeks they look worse. I think overall they're probably about the same, but they could still be worse than the Eagles. I still think we would pick the Eagles if these two teams played again in a couple weeks. The NFC North, I don't know that we're there with the Lions. The NFC South, we can make fun of every team in the NFC South. Like,
and we do.
My favorite part.
Those two things can both be true at the same time.
The real fear for the Eagles is that Jalen Hurts is already injured.
Yeah.
And I think last year that really hurt them. At the end of the year, he was dealing with a shoulder issue. Now he has a knee already. And we don't know exactly the extent of the injury, but it was enough for him to limp around before halftime. And I don't see, I guess it could get better, but normally doesn't get better when you're playing professional football. And that catching up to them at some point is a problem. He's a special player.
At least he squats 650.
That's not saving him. Maybe that's
he's up from 600 to 650 now.
Yeah, we're at it. We add 50 pounds every week.
Yep.
Oh, damn. That push is gonna get extra pushy.
Guys, let's pivot to the Germany game.
Okay.
Which the Dolphins dropped the first half 21-0 and ended up losing 21-14. They're 0-3 against teams with a winning record this season, 0-6 going back to last year. In that first half, they got shut out for the first time in the Mike McDaniels era and didn't convert a single third down. I would ask you this coming out of this game. Do you think that they're a fraudulent contender?
Bill?
Didn't they beat the Bills last year? Am I crazy?
Oh, no, they're 2-7 against playoff teams all the way through last year. They're 0-6 in their last 6 against teams with winning records.
Oh, so they've lost 6 in a row, but they were 2-1 before that.
Yep.
Oh, no, we got to cut it off at the right point, Bill. The most exciting point to cut it off would be
0-6 in their last 6. 0-6 going back to a certain point last year, not all of last year.
To a totally arbitrary point.
Yes, you
can't.
The one when they had was when the Bills had to come down there in 300-degree weather. And
honestly, I don't even know why I would exaggerate that stat.
Miami.
2-7 was a good enough stat. I didn't need to exaggerate it to 0-6 in their last 6.
Just don't gaslight me, Charlie. It's too late in the season. I'm just imagining Vincent lost his style.
The point still stands, though. They haven't been good against teams with a winning record.
Oh, man.
Sure.
Bill doesn't want to answer this direct question. Fraud or no fraud, Barnwell?
They're no fraud.
Okay.
They're not das fraudulent or whatever the word for fraudulent is in the German. I thought there was a big positive to take away from this game that we did not see when they lost to the Bills earlier this season, and that was the play of their defense, which I know we love crapping on the Chiefs, and their offense is terrible now. Still the Chiefs. And the Dolphins allowed 14 points to the Chiefs in this game. One of the touchdowns was a defensive touchdown where Tyreek Hill basically vomited up the football, and the Chiefs lateraled their way to a touchdown. So holding Patrick Mahomes and company to 14 points, pretty good. Travis Kelce had an extremely quiet game. And we saw the big difference for this defense between right now and what we saw earlier in the season. When the Bills blew out the Dolphins earlier this year, it was Kadir Kohu getting picked on. It was Justin Bethel, special teamer who plays corner, getting picked on for the Dolphins. Daddy came home. Jalen Ramsey's back in the lineup now for the Dolphins. And it turns out the Dolphins are much better with a Hall of Fame caliber cornerback in the lineup than they were without Jalen Ramsey on the field. And I think you're going to see that defense continue to play better as they face tougher competition from here on out.
Yes, cornerbacks matter again. I love it. I love this take because you're showing us the respect we deserve.
I've always had faith in cornerbacks, unlike you, Domonique.
And Xavier Howard's back in this game also. He's not Jalen Ramsey, but I think he's probably better than Kohu. It's a little bit of help to bump Kohu. Sure. And Kohu made a great play, I think, towards the end of this game. You bump him down the depth chart a little bit, and you ask a little less of him, and I think it shows up. Chubb rushing the passer and Phillips rushing the passer are things that matter. Also, this Fangio defense is coming around to be something special. It takes some good players. I think maybe no respect to the coach because I can see what's actually happening out there right now. It's not Fangs. It's Jalen Ramsey. It's the difference of this game. I think as far as being a fraudulent contender, contenders is one of those great sports words that we use, like most valuable, that like it's hard to define. So how do we actually answer this? And could I see them beating any one of the top teams in AFC? Yes. In the playoffs. Could I see them beating 3 of them in a row? No. Maybe 2. So, like, if you think contender is they have a realistic shot of getting to the Super Bowl, I find it hard to believe with that offensive line. I know they're going to get back. I mean, Armstead's back, but he's not fully healthy. They're going to get Achan back at some point, and I don't know how big a difference that makes.
Big one.
You think so?
I think they have to have a good running game. Like I don't think they can be a one-dimensional passing attack. And I think having Mostert's great, but they don't have Armstead. They have a banged up offensive line, and I think Achan is a legit difference maker. He is such an incredible like force multiplier when he's in open space. Like he is running backs matter. I've never suggested otherwise. Let's not even talk about Bijan Robinson, guys. We don't even need to get to that in this show. But Devon Achan is like a guy who, to me, other teams are terrified by. Like even in that small sample we saw, he was averaging like 12 yards a carry in multiple games. Like to me, I think he's not as important as Tyreek Hill or Jalen Waddle, but I think he is a player who makes it so much more difficult to devote your resources to stopping Hill and stopping Waddle.
Yeah. If they're going to. Also, they're a team that I feel like has potential to get better more than these other teams because I think they're still relatively new in this process and they're adding players, including Jalen Ramsey. The defense can still continue to get better. They're adding dimensions when teams start to figure out ways to slow down that offense. And surprisingly, they blitzed. The Chiefs did an awesome job blitzing a lot early in this game. And I would think if I was the Dolphins, I would be salivating at the idea of people playing aggressively against Tyreek Hill. And that final play, it was a fumble snap, but they were in a 0 blitz with McDuffie pressing Tyreek Hill. That does not sound to me like a recipe for success too often. But if I'm the Dolphins and people see this tape and like, yeah, that's what we're going to do, please do. Please, I beg of you.
Let's talk about the Chiefs side of this. Any concerns about the Chiefs offense, which continued to not look as great without pass catching options? I mean, Mahomes had averaged 3.3 air yards on his completion Sunday, with both of his TDs being caught behind the line of scrimmage.
Yes. Short answer. Yes, I do have. I think it feels like a broken record to talk about this for a lot of different teams, but like every team needs another dimension, I guess. And it doesn't feel like they have a running attack. It doesn't feel like they have another receiver. It just feels like it's at least last year they added another dimension. If it was throwing the ball out of the backfield, if it was running the ball with Pacheco, it was some other dimension other than Travis Kelce. And I'm looking for that, and they don't seem to have it.
And for a long time, even after that Broncos game where Mahomes had his flu game and played poorly, we were like, they'll figure it out. It's fine. This is what happens. But now it's 9 weeks in, the trade deadline's passed, and this is sort of, you get what you get, and you don't get upset with the Chiefs offense.
Wasn't the Broncos game last week?
Yeah. And we were last week we were like, oh, this is fine.
Last week it was fine. Now we're giving up after one more game where they won.
That's right.
Yep. I still think
that's how we do it here.
They have the answer. They just need to commit to it, which is Isaiah Pacheco. Like, he's not gone anywhere. He's not bad suddenly. Like, I just think they need to run the damn ball in short yardage. Like, they had what, a 3rd and 1 in this game where They threw the ball. Clearly, they don't want to sneak. Like, if you don't want to sneak, that's fine, but that doesn't mean you have to throw the ball. It doesn't mean you have to run a jet sweep or something horizontal. Like, you can still be a vertical offense. They have, I don't want to throw this out there because I tweeted it and I felt dumb tweeting it, but Blaine Gabbert is 12 of 13 in his career on sneaks. Ooh. Like, if you don't want to run sneaks with Patrick Mahomes, get Big Blaine out there. He's not doing anything. You can let Patrick Mahomes take a snap off.
I mean, they've done sneaks with Kelsey, but he's no Big Blaine. Wasn't Kelsey a college quarterback at one point before?
He's recruited as a college quarterback. Yeah.
They switched him to tight end.
Yeah. Why not? Why not bring in someone who you're comfortable using on sneaks, even if it's just to hand the ball off, and give teams something else to think about? Like, to me, I feel like they have solutions. It just takes Andy Reid most of the year to actually commit to using them. And assuming they do, and they work as well as they did last year, the Chiefs will be fine. But if they don't, I don't think the Chiefs can win playing the way they played on Sunday.
It feels like, and I can't believe this is true unless the Chiefs are different from any other NFL team that I've ever been around or heard about, but it does feel kind of like a basketball team and that they are coasting. But football, in week to week, it's a full week to prepare for each game. The games matter so much. Like, you put in so much to each game plan, and it's surprising to me, given the reverence we have for that coaching staff. It's surprising to me that they have not found a viable answer yet, a viable alternative. And for you, Bill, it's like they should run the ball. For me, it's like, I don't know, figure out how to get Kadarius Toney in situations where he can make big plays. It just seems like Mecole Hardman at one point was someone who had big plays in this offense. It seems hard for me to imagine that they can't find some way to manufacture something. Rice has seemed to come on and show some ability. They can't manufacture between having solid protection, a great quarterback, Travis Kelce, and some dynamic athletes at receiver. They can't manufacture some other threat or a running game.
I need to stop us for a second because this Chiefs team used to have Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce in their prime, and now we're calling for Blaine Gabbert to be their short yardage weapon and more Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah.
This is a personnel problem.
Yeah, I guess it's a personnel problem. But they also have shifted this thing, and this is the credit that we give to the Chiefs, is they've shifted. And we saw over the course of the Patriots dynasty, the thing that kept it alive is they found new ways to win every 3 or 4 years. The Chiefs are winning now on defense. And that's not something that anyone predicted. And that might be the scariest thing, is if this team ends up sustaining a really good defense.
Yeah.
And Patrick Mahomes at some point, like, I think we all assume, right? They're going to figure it out offensively at some point. Maybe.
We'll check back in on that next week.
See if they
they're
figure
on
out
bye next week. But
they figure out that they need to put in Blaine Gabbert to hand it to Isaiah Pacheco. Jeez, so obvious.
Domonique, you've been married for a long time. You know this. You have to mix things up after a while. It can't just be the same conversation day after day.
Oh, conversation. Oh, yeah. Same conversation. I thought you were talking about moves. I had a new move to the repertoire every couple of weeks.
You watching Jokic just do fadeaways?
Oh, yeah. I got to change my game, man. I got to take it inside, take it outside, handle the ball, all types of things. Fadeaways.
Okay, very good.
Drive to the lane. What?
I don't like anything about this. The more you talk, the more uncomfortable I get.
Okay, I'm trying to help you out. You're newly married. I'm letting you know.
Just tags in Blaine Gabbert for a play.
Yeah, every now and then, Blaine Gabbert got to run a sneak.
7 Big Blaine.
Blaine time.
Definitely not Nick Foles. That'd be too much of a problem.
Get us the hell out of here, Charlie.
All right, and now it's time for our good hand segment.
No.
Yes.
The good hand moment
Throw your
presented by
hands
Allstate.
up. My bad. I yelled over it. I feel like you got to read it again.
Okay, and now it's time for the good hands moments presented by Allstate. Guys, CJ Stroud was incredible today. He went off versus Tampa for 475 touchdowns, along with taking the Texans down the field in 46 seconds to win the game and throwing lasers everywhere. And I want to ask you guys, is this one of the best rookie seasons you've ever seen from a quarterback?
Was that a real question?
Well, no, it is. Well, I should say, I really want to get
Hell
into
yeah, it is.
But I really want to get into this. This is a Domonique Foxworth Show tenet.
Yes.
That situation defines a quarterback's success more often than not. With very few exceptions, guys like Joe Burrow in their rookie year who came in and were able to turn a program around pretty quickly. But CJ Stroud, if you were to say before the season that this was a great situation for him, I don't think we all would have thought that.
I definitely did not think that.
So in weighing that, how do you view what's going on?
First of all, I need to defend all Domonique Foxworth tenants, as none of them are wrong. All you have to do is find the tenet that fits. And the tenet that fits here is absolutes are for children and dumb people. So the absolute that all quarterbacks must be in a good situation to succeed.
Said most.
Obviously. Yeah.
No.
Most. Yeah. So in this case, he is great. Like, there's no other explanation for it. Like, we've watched these games to try to figure out how he's doing this, and he's doing it in every way. And the things that we expect from quarterbacks to develop later in their careers, because we see quarterbacks who have a good rookie year, have a good second year, and then we're like, oh, but can he put the team on his back? Can he come back from down a lot? Can he make plays with his legs? He does all that already.
Reading I was looking for.
Yeah, there it is. He does all that already, and that man is special. And I think what they're doing out there, I guess young Bobby Slowick, his dad coached me. Young Bobby Slowick, his dad's name was also Bob. I didn't call him Bobby, though. Bob Slowick. He was a defensive coach. Bob. Yeah, Big Bob. He wasn't that big, though. But I would like to give him some credit, and he's probably going to get a head coaching job off the strength of C.J. Stroud balling. And he's good. He's not bad. But the stuff that C.J. Stroud is doing is just freaking special. He's good. Great.
Beat me to the punch. I was gonna give you a stat that was gonna make you mad.
Oh, stat me down.
Number one,
angry stat.
Who in the NFL, which quarterback throws for the highest percentage of first downs per pass attempt? Who's number one? You got to figure out where this setting you down is gonna make you angry.
The highest percentage first down. Josh Allen.
Brock Purdy.
Ooh.
Brock Purdy.
I was gonna guess
who's
Tua.
number two? Guess who's number two?
Tua.
Charlie. It's Tua Tagovailoa. Who's Brock Purdy's coach?
Kyle Shanahan. Yeah.
Who's Tua Tagovailoa's coach?
Shanahan. Oh yeah, Shanahan disciple and McDaniel.
A Shanahan disciple, Mike McDaniel. Guess who number 3 is?
A Shanahan
CJ Stroud,
yeah.
Coached by former 49ers offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. Now, I think CJ Stroud is playing beyond what this offense is designed up for him. I don't think he is a creation of this offense in the way that some people might argue that Brock Purdy is a creation of this offense. But given our expectations coming into the year, given the fact that the personnel on paper does not scare anybody, given the fact that they have no running game, the offensive line has been banged up, that he was balling today throwing to Tank Dell, a 5'10 player who was going to be a gadget guy for some teams. And was it Noah Brown, like the 5th receiver for the Cowboys over the past couple of years, had 165 and 2 touchdowns in this game, I believe, or a touchdown? Like, number one, CJ Stroud's awesome. Number 2, Bobby Slowick is doing a great job and is going to get a head coaching job based on how well this offense has looked so far this year.
And they all deserve it. That's the thing, is when you play well, everybody gets paid. Everyone gets some love. It doesn't matter who gets all the credit on the field, but everyone wants a piece of that success. They are now 500, so we're acting like they're leading the division, but or leading the conference. But given their expectations, I think they've had probably the most impressive season so far of just about anybody in football. We expected the Eagles to be as good as they are. We expected all these other teams to be good, and they've been great. The thing I would say in defense of the Purdy comparison, because you weren't making the comparison, but you were kind of suggesting that there is some Shanahan love. Purdy's the perfect example of what I was saying. Quarterbacks have a good rookie season, and then we're like, all right, that's a good rookie season. But then we asked them to do something else to show us that they can put more responsibility. The thing is, CJ Stroud's doing it already, and he's doing it without the supporting staff or the supporting cast that we have come to. And maybe we'll find out that all these guys are all much better than we thought that they were, and they're really helping him out. But no, that's still the throws that he's making. We see what happened to Brock Purdy when he's in throw-only situations against good defenses. He struggles. CJ Stroud threw for 470 and 5 touchdowns when they had to come back from down a couple different times, and the defense wasn't giving him the support that he needs. And this isn't the first time he's put up video game numbers. The man's really, really advance for where he is in his career.
I
I
got a
think the
question.
coaching matters.
I got a question for you guys. You're drafting franchise quarterbacks for the next 10 years. I'm going to go through some of the top of the league quarterbacks, and you tell me when to stop where you would take CJ Stroud over them for the next decade.
Okay.
Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, Lamar, Herbert, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence.
Stop. Yeah. Are we including contracts? Because I'll put him in front of some more people just to get these next 4 seasons. I mean, I think what he's done so far is special, and the ceiling is really high. I know progress isn't linear, but if we are to expect that he's going to get better at all, and like I like him more. Like, he was running the option today, not as the pitch man. He was running.
Amazing.
He was running the option.
Back in the option.
Yeah, he was the back in the option. I don't know. I think the where he starts gives me a lot of confidence, and their window is open now until, I mean, at least their first window is open now to win a championship. They can build around him. Absolutely. When you get a quarterback like this on a rookie deal, this is when you go all in.
And again, like they have every right. They don't have a first round pick because they traded it for Will Anderson, but they have every right to go out next year and try to trade for Devontae Adams, try and trade for Brandon Ayuk, try and trade for a guy who on paper is a number 1 receiver, to make Nico Collins, who looks very good, a number 2, to make Tank Dell, who looks very good, a number 3. Like, they have plenty of cap space. They have, without their first round pick, at least a decent amount of draft capital. They have a lot to work with to build around CJ Stroud over the next few years. So, like, if like Domonique said, if he improves at all, which I think he will over the next few years, and given that this is probably the worst team they're going to have around him over the next couple of years, like, he's not going to have 5 touchdowns, 0 pick, 470-yard games every single week, but knowing that he has this in his locker is like, just raises the ceiling so incredibly high for what they can do.
How do the Panthers feel today? Because on the other side of...
they hate everything.
Well, especially because today was the Matt Schaub day for Bryce Young with the double pick 6 and the third INT.
Shout out Kenny Moore.
They saw Caleb Williams cry after the game, so they know we're good. We don't want Caleb Williams. Bryce Young isn't going to cry. That's going to ruin his draft status, apparently.
I'm done being your fullback, Bill, because you get to come in after I make the declarative hot take, and then you don't actually take a position. This is the second time that you didn't actually take a position. Where do you stop? Where's the quarterback? You didn't answer the question.
Charlie was supposed to keep listing names. Domonique has him 7, I believe, if I did the math in my head correctly. I have him 8. I don't think either of those are insulting, because I don't think anybody would have had CJ Stroud 7 or 8 before this season started. That tells you how big the strides he's made have been over the past few months.
Great question. It feels very very much like a trade value column from your man. I do like the idea, though, of factoring in all this other stuff when we're evaluating how valuable he is, because I think his value to the team is huge. And before the season started, I wouldn't have said, hey, Houston Texans, H-Town, your championship window is open. But at week 9, for the next 4 years, 5 years maybe, and longer than that, because they'll re-sign them to an extension and they'll backload all the money. And, I mean, for the next 6 or 7 years is when they should be making a run at the championship.
I got a question for you, Domonique.
Yeah.
Dare Ogunbowale.
I love this.
Kicks a field goal, a 29-yard field goal in this game, has to take kickoff duties because Kyrie Fairbairn is hurt. He is the
backup running back
kicker. Backup running back, third down back for the Texans. Ends up playing a big role in this game. Helps them win this game. Did you have a secret skill? Was there something was there an emergency element of an NFL roster that you could have pulled off, that you would have served in?
I don't know if it would have helped our team win, but we already discussed the secret skill. I've been married for 13 years. We pointed out.
Okay.
No is the answer to my question. Charlie, is there
No, okay, all right, here we go.
skill?
I'll give it to you. I was 175 pounds for much of my career, but I also like it's small for a football player. But I also was able to play nickelback and safety. So there's a series of games in the my second year for the Broncos where I started at safety. So I guess playing that doesn't seem special, huh? Because it's like a DB going to DB. Nah. All right.
Yeah.
No special skills.
It's much less fun than kicking a field goal.
Yeah.
What's the farthest field goal you think you could hit?
In a game?
No. Like if we went out to a field now, no pass rush or no rush.
I don't know. I could probably hit one from the 10 or the 15, maybe 20.
That's like a 37-yard field goal.
All right, let's go find out. I ain't scared. You think I'm gonna get nervous out there?
How much do I get to put down on you making this field goal or missing this field goal?
Whatever you want. I'm taking all comers.
Bill, I love that his secret skill was basically being like, I'm a point guard that can also play shooting guard.
This is clear that you don't know ball because a safety and a cornerback's jobs are entirely different. But anyway,
I gave you. There's such an easy. You could just say holder, and we'd be out of this conversation.
That's not
already.
a skill. Holding's not.
Of course
a
it
skill.
is.
No,
Tell that to
not.
Tony Romo.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's not a skill. Yeah, that's right. You can point out the
Real-
one time
real
when the
football
hold
guy.
when the hold cost somebody the game. You can point it out because it's not a skill. It's easy.
Cornerback hands. Not that easy.
You know who wouldn't appreciate this? The people who respect hands and using them correctly. The fine people at Allstate.
You're right. I take it back.
hands, too.
I mean, those would be some good holds from the Allstate hands. I make a 60-yarder if we got the Allstate hands to be my holder.
I think
What
we
else
should.
we
We'll
got,
do a
Charlie?
social clip on this.
All right.
I think we can both make 35-yard field goals.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so.
Both of us?
Yeah.
Can I would love to bet against this. I will bet any
All right,
amount of money.
Cool. Let's do
That
it.
you guys are not both going. Now, is it one shot each? Do you get like
Whoa,
unlimited tries?
whoa. You had such confidence. I should get unlimited shots. I mean,
Yeah, if you kick all day, you'll probably get one by accident. But
No, I kick all day from 55. I'll never get one by accident. If I can kick it, I can kick it. Let's do it. Put your money up. I get 10 shots.
then you can do it in one. I'll give you 3 shots from 35.
All right, let's do it.
You still owe me. You lost a bet to me where you were going to buy me a pair of Big Baller brand shoes, and you never paid up. So I want to get this.
They're coming out with new
I-
models.
I wanna
They're
find
coming out with
forward.
new Big Baller brand shoes.
I don't remember
it's already
this bet,
rich.
and I feel
It's
like
already retro.
I feel like if the reward was you get Big Baller brand, you did not win that bet. I think it's a bet that you lost.
Okay. Last topic. Let's pivot to the last game.
All right.
Okay.
The Ravens annihilated the Seahawks, and this was supposed to be a really good game today. The Ravens defense stifled the Seahawks. The Ravens running game, they ran for 298 yards. Are you starting to just maybe think this is the best team in the NFL?
Ooh, drama. That was dramatic reading.
Yeah, you really got better at this and showing off, Charlie. Where was
I
this
like
20 minutes ago when we needed it?
Yeah, I think they are. The games that they lost were games that they should have won, which makes me feel like I should not have as much confidence in them that I do right now. But the last several weeks, they found different ways to win, which I think is important. And their defense has played well enough, long enough that we can no longer pretend like it's a fluke. They're one of the best defense or the best defense in football statistically right now. If that holds up, I don't know, but they'll be at least top 5 by the end of the year, which is enough with what they've been able to do offensively and how Lamar is playing. And Lamar didn't even play that well today. I mean, he wasn't bad, but it feels like most of their games is like their defense plays well and then Lamar is amazing. Today, Lamar wasn't amazing and they still dominated a legitimate contender on the NFC side.
It's like the Browns fans watching the Domonique Foxworth Show where they allowed like 50 yards all game to Arizona might feel like you're maybe selling them a little bit short in the best defense conversation, but Ravens are legit, no question. To me, they're not the second best defense in football with the Chiefs at number 3. And I think what's really shocking, I know Ben Solak tweeted about this from The Ringer, like there's so many guys on this defense who are either young players who have taken a big step forward, like Justin Madubuike, who's been awesome this year, or veterans who suddenly look like they're stars, who were either out of football, like Kyle Van Noy, or guys who are bouncing around the league who are playing well. It feels like this defense is just getting the most out of everybody on their roster. But Charlie, who do the Ravens play next?
They play the best defense in football, the Browns, next week.
Oh, you couldn't see Lamar like fumbling twice while he's scrambling in that game. Maybe a tip pick and the Browns pull that one out, Dominique.
I absolutely could see that happening, and then we will have to revisit this conversation. But every week we had one team that we thought was the best, and then they lost. The Ravens, we've been having this conversation about them for 3 weeks now, and the wins seemingly get more and more impressive. Like, I guess the win against the Cardinals last week wasn't all that impressive, but they beat the Cards. Before that, we were like, hey, the Lions, they're a real contender. The Ravens ran them up out of M&T Bank. And then we bring the Seahawks in, and I think this is the first like real top-tier test for their defense because they have weapons. They run the ball, they have receivers, and ran them out M&T once again. So I have a little bit more faith in them. I'm more worried about them against bad teams because that seems to be the teams that they lose to is the Steelers and the Colts.
Can't believe you would say Mike Tomlin's team is bad. Just disrespectful to the best coach in football.
Okay, that's why he's the best coach in football because the team ain't good and they somehow managed to win. you don't want. I mean, maybe bad's a little bit harsh, but they ain't good.
Do you feel differently about this Ravens team than you have the teams from years past? Like, do you feel like they're significantly better on defense than they've been in years past?
It looks like it. Yeah, I mean, last year their defense.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, it took a while for the defense to come around last year with the new coordinator who's still there now. Prior to that, it was a lot of Wink Martindale, which was boomer bust, aggressive blitz stuff on defense. And I do think that the offense has developed. I don't know if it's as much Lamar's development and the offense's development, but they do have weapons, which matters. Like Odell had a pretty good day today. Zay Flowers is someone that you have to respect, and Rashard Bateman is like an afterthought now, but he's still incredibly dangerous. And obviously Mark Andrews is still the weapon, and they ran the ball like the old Ravens today, which is something that's another tool club that they have in the bag for you golfing people. I don't golf.
You could tell Domonique Foxworth, another Domonique Foxworth show adage, list the guys who can beat you deep. You listed Rashad Bateman as a weapon ahead of Mark Andrews. Who's
yeah. You know how I feel about that.
8 million times the player and weapon that Rashad Bateman is. I'll tell you what, someone I liked in this game, Keaton Mitchell.
Mm-hmm.
Keaton Mitchell at running back for the Ravens. Good. He was fast. He was legit fast. That feels like the kind of player where like week 16, he's winning you a fantasy league. And you got to see a little glimpse of him today. If he could just stay healthy, I think he had something to their running game.
I want to know how you feel about this Ravens team. Do you feel that they are the cream of the league at this point?
I think the defense is second best defense in football. And I think their offense is much better than the Browns offense, even though the Browns offense had a good game today. So to me, I think they have a strong case. I just don't have a lot of faith that the offense is consistently good from drive to drive or week to week. I think they're still sloppy. And, I think the ceiling is higher than it's been in any year, I think, since Lamar won MVP. But I still don't trust that I'm going to get a great offensive performance from week to week. Like, I just think they make too many mistakes, and maybe having a better running game will help. Maybe having steady offensive linemen will help, but I just think they are a team prone to making mistakes on offense.
Yep. And, their track record would suggest that you're right. As we pointed out, they made those mistakes in those games against the teams like the Steelers when no one could catch, or the Colts when Lamar was giving it away. Yeah. I don't know. The tough thing with any of these conversations this season is it feels like no one is running away with it.
Yes.
So like when you say that, I can't disagree with you, but then I look at the Chiefs and I'm like, yeah, them too. And I look at the Bills and like them too. I guess the Bengals is the one team that we can't really say that about because they just got their quarterback healthy, and maybe them too. We're recording this before the end of that game, so we'll see.
Okay, here's what we're going to do.
Now.
Let's leave the week-to-week conversation aside.
Till next week.
Charlie, no, we'll keep doing it, but Charlie and Domonique, I want you to tell me who we will think the best team in football is at the end of the regular season.
I think we're going to think it's probably the Chiefs.
I think we're going to think it's the Eagles.
Oh, I disagree because of the schedule.
Best team in football, yeah. Well, I think I'm going to think it's the Eagles.
I think we are going to think it is the Baltimore Ravens. even though I argued a little bit against it. I think we will think the Baltimore Ravens are the best team in football at the end of the regular season. Watch Lamar get hurt literally in the first quarter next week after I say that, though.
Please don't. Please don't. Please don't.
Please
don't
don't.
ruin my season.
Please don't.
It'll be so much fun.
No injury jinx.
Yeah.
But let's keep that in mind. We'll run that back after week 18.
Like this.
Good thing for me and Domonique is the Chiefs and Eagles are on bye next week. So we get one extra week where we can.
Good for us. We get to survive one more week. All right, it's an awesome week of football. Is there anything else you want to hit? I know you at one point you wanted to make fun of coaches, but did we do enough?
We did enough. We'll make fun of Arthur. All right, let's make fun of Arthur Smith. Bill, why does he get the ball to good players? Why does he talk about like toxic groupthink and then he benches Desmond Ridder and he doesn't give the ball to Bijan Robinson? Then the front office drafts Drake London so high and Kyle Pitts so high he doesn't throw them the ball. Like, you want about toxic groupthink or toxic thinking? This can't work for that long.
Here's the thing. Domonique, you know this. Like the conversations we have about football in the public are not as thoughtful, not as nuanced, not as informed as what goes on behind closed doors. Like, we don't know what the exact play call is. We don't know adjustments are being made. We don't know, what checks each team has in each given play. There is a complexity to football that is not apparent publicly. And there are times where, like, I'll say something, I may be a little bit out of pocket about a play or a team, and I'll hear from somebody in that organization. They'll say, hey, listen, like, actually this person did the right thing. And I'll say, oh, and I'll quietly delete the tweet and never talk about it again. But if you're Arthur Smith and you're going to come out and be like, listen, guys, you don't understand. We know best. We're watching the film. You don't get it. And you say Desmond Ridder's a great quarterback. Okay. You have every right to say that. That's fine. But you can't bench him the next week and then try to quietly delete the tweet the way I do. You got to be better at that than me.
Yeah, it's a bad move.
You can't come out and say, oh, Bijan Robinson's going to be our dude. You don't get it. He's a difference maker. He's not just a running back. And then have a goal-to-go sequence in the second quarter where you don't want to play Bijan, where you're running a jet sweep with Jonnu Smith. You can't do that.
The hardest thing about the way that they're using or not using these players is all of these players show us that they got it.
Yes.
Like, we've seen Bijan do it. We've seen Drake London do it. Like, we've seen impressive stretches from all of these guys, and it gets us excited, and they don't use them. And, I think this is a lesson. You talked about him saying toxic groupthink. Toxic groupthink is actually a thing. It's something to be concerned about. But wisdom of the crowd is also a thing. And it's just about how you choose to market it. I think sometimes the crowd knows, and the crowd knows they good. Give them the ball. Not that hard.
Well, there also has to be organizational friction. Like, the front office drafts these guys in the top 10 to play them, and then they don't get the ball, and they lose to the Vikings when Josh Dobbs has been on the team for 3 days.
Man, what a Josh
and
Dobbs.
Justin Jefferson doesn't play.
How many people do you think Josh Dobbs can name on that team? Like, of the 53-man roster, we'll include maybe, 12 coaches or something. How many people do you think he can name?
He's just to say numbers.
Not only numbers, but this is the second team this year where he's had to play with people whose names and numbers he didn't know. He was saying that about Arizona in week 1.
He did it last year with the Titans.
But Tennessee.
I feel like he has like 3 Disney movies like wrapped up with the ending that no one believes. It's like, this super nerdy college kid managed to end up on this team out of nowhere, and he had to start, and he won the game.
Talk about a special skill. What a sick special skill for Josh Dobbs, being able to play in any offense in 3 days' notice.
Man's a genius. You just hand him you hand him a playbook, and he just digests it. He's out there calling plays, and you're right. He doesn't know anybody's name. He's like, hey, run out 2-2. That's it, just numbers. Oh, well.
This man's speed running the NFL on extra hard difficulty and pulling off victories in games they have no right to be winning. This was a Vikings team without Justin Jefferson, without Christian Darrisaw, their best left tackle, playing the Falcons at home, and they still managed to pull out the W. Joshua Dobbs should be playing in the NFL until he's 55
He didn't
years
even.
old if
I
he
mean,
wants to.
I assume he didn't even get any practice snaps this week because he wasn't slated to even be the starter. Like, at least in Tennessee, they brought him in as like, hey, you're gonna start. Arizona, hey, you're gonna start. They're like, hey, come on, chill out for a little week. We need a backup because Kirk got hurt. Oh, backup's hurt. Get your in there and lead us on a game-winning drive. Sure, why not? I'll do it. Josh Dobbs is an American hero.
It's incredible.
All right. Any other coaches you want to make fun of? McDaniels?
Yeah. Do you want to make fun of Josh McDaniels? Because there was the report of the team meeting where they all yelled at him. And then today, this is like the loosest Raiders team ever. They're smoking
won.
victory cigars. Antonio Pierce seems like the coolest dude of all time.
Did you see the clip of Devontae Adams playing basketball in the locker room?
Yeah, I did. Great
This was a man with like the weight of the world off of his shoulders. He didn't even have he had like 35 yards in this game. He didn't even care. He was just like so happy to be free of Josh McDaniels.
I don't know Josh McDaniels, but he comes off kind of smug, which is probably not fair to him because maybe he's not, but
kinda.
It feels like kind of nice to see this happen. Is that wrong of me?
I mean, he's getting paid 6 years contracts. He'll be fine. Not concerned about him.
Money, everybody, money.
Oh God, you hit a nerve here.
This
hurts Domonique's feelings when you say you can't feel bad for him because he's still getting a salary.
I mean, the money's not going to make him feel bad.
You're so empathetic, Domonique.
It's not even. All right, so here we go.
No, he was saying he didn't feel bad for saying he was happy to see him get fired. You can't play both sides of this coin.
Now he's a contrarian without a cause because he said he's still getting paid.
I'm going opposite. Either you jerks, you should feel sorry for him. No, you shouldn't feel sorry for him. The one thing about him, reason why you shouldn't feel sorry for him, because he has to have the most, or maybe this is why you should feel sorry for him. He's had the most embarrassing head coaching career of just about
That's what I was going to ask.
Oh my gosh. Like what's the headline of all of the foolish that's happened in his head coaching career? Which one of the things are you going to headline it with?
I mean,
is it turning down the Colts job? Accepting then turning it down.
No, not turning it down. Accepting it and then reneging on it. Drafting Tim Tebow in the first round.
That's the one. That's it.
Trading away Jay Cutler, getting into a fight with Jay Cutler and trading him away so you could draft Tim Tebow in the first round. Trading up in the second round so you could take Alfonso Smith, and then the pick you trade away becomes Earl freaking Thomas for the Seahawks. Being a terrible OC with the Rams. Like there's just.
Don't forget losing to our guy Jeff.
Yeah, that's the one.
Losing to Jeff, it hurts.
Yeah, that's the one. Jeff Saturday came off of the get up desk and beat him on a primetime game. I think that's the most embarrassing one. Sorry, Jeff, but you ain't supposed to be able to do that.
That might be it. Now, outside of Urban Meyer, outside of Bobby Petrino, is he the worst head coach of the last 20 years in terms of getting hired multiple times, setting his franchises backwards, just getting decision after decision wrong? Where does he stand? I can't think of anybody.
Hugh Jackson comes to mind as struggling at two different organizations, was Hugh Jackson the coach of the 0-16 Browns team?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he sure was.
That's a tough one. I don't know anybody else that
1-15
Hugh Jackson. Hugh Jackson was coaching a team that was actively tanking.
That's fair.
I don't think. If you put Mike Tomlin wins 9 games with that team. If you put who's the most average? Not even Kyle Shanahan. Who's the most average coach in the NFL right now? Who's
I was going to say Jeff Fisher, coach of football? The modern day Jeff Fisher.
Yeah. Let's go with that.
Jeff Fisher wins 4-5 games with those teams probably.
That's tough.
Josh McDaniels has dudes. Jimmy Garoppolo was winning games with San Francisco. Devontae Adams was a superstar. They signed guys like Darren Waller and Hunter Renfrow and didn't use them. Chandler Jones disappeared once he joined this team.
Max Crosby's a superstar that they don't get anything out of because they have so little around him. That's the part that I think frustrates me, is that he has dudes and then they play better the moment either before he gets there or the moment after he leaves. It's like a totally different team with Antonio Pierce as the head coach. I never forget, it was some podcast that DJ Williams was doing, and he talked about how when Josh McDaniels got to the Broncos, that DJ believed that the Patriots were doing some spying stuff because when Josh got there, Josh told them exactly what to expect for a series of games. And then I guess the spying ring fell apart because DJ was like, no, we knew exactly what was going on. And then just stopped getting those tips anymore. And then they stopped winning. Oh, well, that's a fun place.
He's probably, because again, like he set 3 different franchises back. Yeah. That's what makes it so hard. Is that like if you do one bad job, it's one thing. Like going 0 for 3 in such dramatic fashion.
One of the crazy things is his competition for this worst modern coach. It's like Joe Judge, Matt Patricia, all the bums that Tom Brady deodorized.
Pretty bad. It's pretty bad. It's thanks a lot, Patriots, for spreading this funk around our league. Get it out of here. All right, I'm done talking about them and anything because we're done talking about everything because we did everything. Thanks a lot, Bill Barnwell. Thank you, Charlie Kravitz. Of course, thank the good people at Allstate. Thank Podville. Throw your hands up. Thanks to all of our great producers, Serafina, Megan, Kevin, Brian. And again, this has been the Domonique Foxworth Show presented by Allstate, and we out.
This is the Domonique Foxworth Show.